Transactional Analysis. Dr. Eric Berne, a psychoanalyst from Canada, came up with this concept of transactional analysis. This analysis is on how people give or project a behavior and take a reception of a responsive behavior. So there is something called ego states which he illustrates. One which is called id state, second is the ego, and the third is called the superego state. These three ego states are connected with ego stages, like how a human being evolves. A child stage, an adult stage, and then a parent stage. When in a child stage, people are quite carefree, they want everything for themselves. So it's quite a kind of a free child or an adapted child kind of a behavior, which is equated to that of a id state. And then as they grow up, they know which is right, which is not right, and they come to a kind of a balance of what is equitable amongst the people in a society, so which is called the adult stage. The adult stage is called the ego stage. There is self-esteem, there is a pride, there is a kind of a importance or identity to a person. The next stage is the superego stage or the parent stage, where after you go through a process of human evolution, you see there is nothing behind that is to be taken so seriously in life. So we lose all the ISIS which goes within bringing us, shaping our personality. So people, when they get into a parent stage, they either be a nurturing parent or they do a control parent, because they don't want the people behind them to also fall into the same trap of how they have felt in their life. So these two, that is the ego states and the ego stages, are combined together to give a kind of a behavior. So for example, the transactions here, what Dr. Eric Berne says is, there are three types. One is called the parallel transaction, the second one is called the crossed transaction, and third is called the ulterior transaction. Parallel transaction is what you intend to get is solved by your question, and the answer to it is satisfying what your question demands. Whereas in a crossed transaction, you ask a question and then the answer to it is quite not direct, it is quite indirect. Whereas in the ulterior, there is a question and the answer towards it is not at all connected, only the person who is involved in the transaction can understand what it is. That is called ulterior. For example, I'll tell you, if somebody asks you what is time, and they expect an answer that you have to tell them the time. Okay, if you tell them the time, it is kind of a parallel transaction. That is, both the ego states and the stages are matching. And if somebody is asking you what is time, and you respond in saying that, why, you don't have a watch, you don't have a mobile phone where you can check your time, then means it is a cross transaction. You have also told that you can also check. So there is a solution, but the answer is not direct. The third part, the ulterior transaction. For example, you are running into a class and the class is fully packed and the class is fully engaged and you are the last person to get into the class, and the teacher asks you, what is time? There, it means what? You are late. So your reflective answer should be sorry, or you get away. So this is one kind of a transaction which happens. There is another thing which also happens in a society. For example, if you are going in a bus and you are trying to make yourself a seat available next to a bulky person in the bus, where the seat can hold only two people, and that person who's crossing more than half of the seat. So you try to sit behind him and next to him and ask him, up to where are you going? If he tells you the stop where he is going, then means he is in a parallel transaction. If he says, where are you supposed to go? Then means this is a cross transaction where the conversation can lead to an answer. Ulterior is, if you are asking him up to where you're going and he says sorry, then means he is giving you enough seat so that you can also sit with him and enjoy the ride. So parallel or crossed or ulterior are human behavioral exhibits that makes people to get in touch with each other and get to a kind of a cordial relationship. Okay, we'll see some more of this in the later.